All right. It's finally happening. Everybody's ripping the Band-Aid off. You know, Chucky Boy Todd, decides to, go into and call out Chuck Schumer and everybody else for covering up Joe Biden's mental decline. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. MSNBC, CNN, ABC, CBS, New York Times, Washington Post, the vote blue no matter who infrastructure. Please stop insulting my audience's intelligence. Please stop insulting yourselves. Stop embarrassing yourselves. Joe Biden was always on the decline, and yet you guys went to bat for him so hard. So very, very hard, right?
All right. Senator Chuck Schumer, I know you got to go. I appreciate your time today. We'll see you soon, I hope. Thank you.
Take care.
All right. And our panel joins us now. CNN political commentator Jonah Goldberg, the host of the Chuck Toddcast, Chuck Todd, Democratic strategist Paul Begala, Republican pollster Kristen Soltis Anderson, both CNN political commentators. Chuck Todd, go.
He is among the people that are responsible for this. The leaders of the Democratic.
Oh, so are you, baby. CNN, MSNBC, everybody. Oh, he's responsible. No, all of you went to bat for Joe Biden, too. You don't get to rewrite history. The internet remembers.
Party, the staff of the White House. And I have to say, I find everybody now talking to these authors, get out of here. Go home. You're part of the problem. Now you tell us. So I find, the reason why the Democratic Party has less credibility today. Here's an unpopular president. And the Democratic Party has a worse rating than the Republican Party with this catastrophic governance that we've seen over the last 120 days. And yet, why is the Democratic Party in worse shape? Because of this distrust, because of this, frankly, what the public feels as if the party leadership let them down and let this happen. He's as responsible as anybody else. He was a leader in the party. He could have said something sooner.
He could have said something sooner. He could have said, MSNBC, CNN, you guys could have done your job sooner by actually informing the American public about what's going on. Here, real quick here. This is a tweet from Glenn Greenwald. Again, it's repulsive to watch the media pretend, though the whole country knew, they had no idea Biden was in decline and are so angry at the White House for hiding it. I talked to Rogan about this in 2020, about how the Democrats who first raised this when Biden ran in 2018. I mean, well, I think it was more 2019, but anyways, here we go.
You probably have had that experience when you go and you visit an old relative, like one of your grandparents who's in a nursing home. And, you go in and you kind of soften your voice. So you don't want to be feel scare them or feel abrasive. And if they make kind of anything resembling a joke, you sort of fake laugh, yes. Right? You're oh, that's how they talk to him, interviewers on television. They treat him like an old ailing grandparent, but one who is beloved. And this is the most amazing thing about this whole thing with cognitive decline, which anyone who watches him for 15 minutes knows is true. The people who were the first ones to disseminate that storyline were not supporters of Bernie Sanders once the primary got down to Biden and Bernie. It was in 2018 and into 2019 when Biden was by far the leading Democratic candidate because of his name recognition and because of his 8 years as vice president standing next to Obama. It was Democratic establishment operatives, strategists, consultants, just that whole DC professional Democratic Party class, which was petrified that he was going to get the nomination. When I started talking about cognitive decline and people started saying, this is a shitty low blow, you're just doing this to sabotage his campaign to help Bernie. And I was like, are you fucking crazy? You're the ones who have spent the last year and a half on Morning Joe, in the Washington Post op-ed pages.
Now, again, this video did come out in 2020. I want to pause here real quick. Pause, hit the pause button. As many of you in my audience have told me, and I call many of you, especially who are caretakers for your elder relatives or people who are suffering from, again, dementia, Alzheimer's, all that kind of stuff. We know the signs. President Joe Biden was exhibiting those signs in spades. Okay. Imagine playing Uno And instead of covering your cards, Joe Biden is showing you that he's got all the draw fours and skip yous and everything else. And he's saying, you don't know what kind of card I have because I don't know what kind of cards I have. All the while you're seeing it. Or it's like you're playing poker and he's saying like, hey, I got a whole royal flush. You know, there you go. Doing the whole shebang, right? That's what Joe Biden was showing to the American people and to the international community. Everybody knew it. Everybody knew it. Everybody saw it. Joe Biden had good days and bad days. And yet, remember, Bernie Sanders went to bat for his good friend. And Obama made that phone call.
I don't know if you remember, but there was a CNN debate when Julian Castro interrupted Biden and accused him of having contradicted what he had said 3 seconds ago. And he was like, Joe, did you just forget what you said 20 seconds ago? And then they interviewed Cory Booker and he said, yeah, you know, if you listen to Joe Biden, you really wonder whether he's capable of carrying the football over the They were the ones petrified that he wouldn't be able to withstand the rigors of a campaign. The only thing that saved him was the coronavirus pandemic, which let him sit at home. And now they've declared what we can all see with our own eyes. And what they themselves were saying all this time, it's declared off limits to say it, even though they're the ones who recognized first that it was true. And that's the kind of stuff that gets really creepy.
Yeah, it does. It does. And look, let's just go back in time for, again, going back in 2020, where Laura Trump suggested that Biden, let's pull up this tab here, where Laura Trump suggested that Biden was showing signs of cognitive decline, and Jake Tapper on CNN flipped out. Chuck Todd, you're on CNN. What?
I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You have no
It's
so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
and try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
When you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses, diagnosing politicians from afar. In our 2020 lead today, President Trump's niece, who is a clinical psychologist, is calling on the American Psychiatric Association to drop the so-called Goldwater rule, which bars mental health professionals from diagnosing public figures that they have not examined in person. Mary Trump says that psychiatrists, quote, know what's wrong with my uncle. And she says it's time they tell voters. And Mary Trump joins us now. She's also the...
Yes, wow. Okay, so it's okay to call Trump senile, but you can't call Joe Biden senile. And this is the same Jake Tapper who, surprise, surprise, Jake Tapper, who actively participated in the cover-up of Biden's mental decline, has a new book claiming the former president needs a wheelchair. What?
Jake Tapper here. Alex Thompson from Axios and I wrote a book. It's coming out next Tuesday. It's called Original Sin, President Biden's Decline, Its Cover-Up, and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again. The book is drawn from more than 200 interviews with mostly Democratic insiders, almost all of them after the election. And one of the things we were shocked to learn, the White House physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, talked about how if Biden had one more fall, he might actually need to be in a wheelchair. But this was all put off until after the election. They did not want images of Biden in a wheelchair out there. You might recall that Biden started to have problems with a shuffling gait that the administration was very sensitive about. There was a time when they started having people walk with him to Marine One. Those people were there to kind of hide the fact that his...
Yes, you don't want to show Joe Biden shuffle. We've seen the shuffle. And look, it's going to happen to all of us. You know, if we make it to the ripe age of 80 or 90, it will happen. Some of us will be very fortunate to still be physically fit. And I've seen a lot of senior citizens who are still strong bulls, okay? Very strong. But for the vast majority of us, it's going to happen. And anyone who's president shouldn't look that way. Signs of strength matter, especially when you're dealing with other presidents and prime ministers, kings and leaders and chieftains. You have to be strong. It's just the way of the world. Strength matters. The sight of strength matters. Joe Biden did not exhibit any of those.
This gait was as bad as it was, and also have them there in case he stumbled. The White House would say that this gait issue was because Biden had fallen after the election of 2020. But the truth is that it didn't have to do with that. Dr. O'Connor's medical report said that that injury was completely healed. This had to do with other degenerative problems.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. But yet you covered that up. You covered it up. And anyone who did talk about it, we were silenced. We were silenced immediately. And also want to give a huge shout out to Natalie Williams. Fake Tapper, you must support the Imperial Inquisitor. We've got a special plastic romper for you. Ooh la la, indeed. Shout out, shout out, shout out, shout out, shout out, shout out to all my beautiful people. You know, I mean, again, you know, we gotta really be clear on this. You know, we all know that if you talked about Joe Biden's dementia, you were silenced, you were censored, or you were vilified.
President Biden's decline and its cover-up by the people around him is a reminder that every White House, regardless of party, is capable of deception.
Oh, they got deceived. Did they miss the story?
But being truth tellers also means telling the truth about ourselves.
Being truth tellers. They called themselves truth tellers. They just did Russiagate. They just did COVID. They just did Ukraine war, Syria war, where now Al Qaeda's in charge. And they just did 4 straight years lying for Joe Biden's dementia. And they still have the balls to call themselves truth tellers, because what else are they going to do? They are paid liars by billionaires to manufacture consent. You call yourself a truth teller and not a mental defective just like Joe Biden, and not a complete paid shill? Because that's what you are. Let's watch.
We, myself included, missed a lot of this story.
They just missed it. All those people, they just missed the story. You didn't miss the story, you liar.
They were following orders, Jimmy. All what they were doing was following the orders, Jimmy. That's all what they were doing. Following the orders, following the orders, following the orders, because that's what the Democrats are good for. That's what corporate media was good for. And look, they did a successful lie. They did a successful cover-up. And for 4 years, everyone thought that Joe Biden, or at least vote blue, no matter who, people thought Joe Biden was doing a good job. Good job. Great job, Biden. No. And it's important for us to remember this, because there are current congressmen and women who are also in nursing homes or exhibiting signs of decline or falling apart mentally and physically. And I know it's going to happen to me. I know it's going to happen to all of us. But when it comes down to positions of power, my goodness, now it's abundantly clear why things suck so much is because no one's paying attention. The vehicle is driverless. No, not like with AI, but no, there's no one behind the wheel. There's no smartphone. Nothing is computer. 4 years. 4 years of hell for independent media as we were silenced, censored, suppressed, all of that. We haven't learned our lesson. And now corporate media is like, I can't believe this happened. And yet here I am and everyone else in independent media looking at them disgusted. This is what you did. You said everything was fine. Democrats, you didn't say anything. You said everything was fine. Vote blue no matter who. You lied to yourselves and to the politicians. Bernie, everyone. How dare you? How dare you? Under Joe Biden, what? We saw economic hardship, disasters, natural, man-made happen, political corruption, and of course, hey, that Coca-Cola classic, endless war. Say it with me. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. Even Jurassic Park had a better opening day than Joe Biden, right? No, wait, I shouldn't do that. That's not fair. That's not fair. That's a horrible comparison. Because at least at the end of the day, when Jurassic Park ended, the movie was over. You go on with your life. We're still dealing with the consequences for decades after Joe Biden's presidency. We'll be living with that nightmare for a while. I think a lot of us would rather be chased by a T-Rex than dealing with, oh, yeah, the reason why things suck so much is because, Joe Biden. He laid down that groundwork. I mean, after all, they did say to get rid of that censorship suppression infrastructure that they had, right? That's what Trump administration said. I hope that's the case. I hope that's the case. I really do.